Welcome, everybody, to Football Discussion Daily. My name is Joe, and I'm here with the co-host
You.
CGO or George. Today is the 22nd of March, 2026. And just a quick reminder, if you like us, please follow us, please subscribe. We release every day. Long form, 15 to 20 minutes on YouTube. Short form, 30 seconds to 1 minute on Instagram, TikTok, and other platforms. Today, big day. We had Sunderland beating Newcastle in one of the big derbies in the Premier League. We had Aston Villa beating West Ham, throwing another wrench in relegation 2-0. We had Nottingham Forest in a relegation 6-pointer beat Tottenham 3-0. Probably the biggest game of the day. Arsenal lost to Manchester City in the League Cup final 2-0. There's a really interesting matchup. Arsenal did not play very well at all, and Man City, took advantage. And we also have a controversial red card in the Madrid derby, where Real Madrid won 3-2 despite a controversial red card from Freddy Valverde in the 77th minute. I thought it was a yellow at best. George, let me start out by asking you, do you think a yellow at red is ever justified in this situation? And I'll just throw out there's a couple things that justify a red: denial of goal scoring opportunity, excessive force. I didn't see anything in this tackle that was any of those things. I could have all the rest in front of me. George, what do you think?
Honestly, the officials for this game, they have to give an explanation on what is the justification for giving Federico Valverde a red card in the 77th minute of that derby. For me, it wasn't a red card. Yellow card would have been what would have been most reasonable for that. Now, this begins to bring in a lot of question about officiating in the Spanish La Liga. A lot has to be looked into when it comes to officiating in the Spanish La Liga. In the recent time, we've been seeing a lot of unwarranted calls by referees, very controversial officiating in the Spanish La Liga. And that doesn't really help the league, because Spanish La Liga is one of the leagues in Europe that is highly rated. So when you start seeing officiating caused by referees like this that are highly questionable, then it doesn't speak well of the league.
And I hope there's an avenue for Valverde to appeal after the game. Like, we don't know this is a straight red, so this is not an accumulation of fouls.
Exactly.
This didn't look like serious foul play. I'm looking at the reasons right now for a red. This wasn't violent conduct. This wasn't spitting. At least I couldn't see spitting or abusive language on the video that I saw. It was in the midfield. It was not an obvious goal scoring opportunity. There are there are second yellows that are like given for accumulations of fouls and things like that this could have been, but this was a straight red. And I agree, there should be Real Madrid should have avenue to appeal that, and Valverde to not serve his suspension. I hope they have an avenue to do that. George, let's move on though. George, let's move on. We've talked about this for a couple minutes. Newcastle, Sunderland. This was Newcastle went up early on a bad pass out of the back by Luke O'Nien, who's been one of the weaker players on Sunderland this year. Anthony Gordon and Walter combined for a great finish. After that, Newcastle was very weak. They and Sunderland came increasing into the game. They scored, and they scored twice, including at the 92nd minute or something like that. One of them I thought Ramsdale should have gotten, but this is huge for Sunderland. They haven't been in the Premier League in 10 years. They have 2 wins over their rivals. I would be celebrating like crazy if I was a Sunderland fan. George, question for you. I mean, I think there's 4 or 5 teams playing in Europe, and almost all of them lost except for Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest. Do you feel like this is a result of Newcastle's midweek and Sunderland being fresh?
Looking at the game, I won't say Newcastle play like a team that were suffering from fatigue. They played very well in this game, honestly. They didn't play badly. And remember, there was a goal they scored through their defender, Tiao, that was overruled, because I think Murphy was he was standing in front of the goalkeeper. So that goal was overruled. So I won't say Newcastle had it. They didn't play too badly today. Unfortunately for them, Sunderland won the derby. It's been 10 years and 2 days the last time they both sides last met. So, but I think Sunderland, they deserve to win this game because they put in a lot of effort, especially towards the ending part of the game. They looked more hungry. They showed that they really wanted to get the win. And kudos must go to them. Sunderland has not been too bad this season. They've been doing very well. I would say maybe this year they've dropped in form compared to when the season started. But Sunderland is a team when you play against them, you need to be very, very careful because they can hurt you. Yes.
And I will say the atmosphere at St. James's Park is one of the coolest atmospheres I saw all season. It came out of I was obviously in America watching. It came out of the television. It just seemed like they were singing and chanting all game. I'm sure that even after the second goal, they had their own energy that was different, but still there, and they supported their team. I thought it was really great atmosphere. And I've heard St. James's Park is one of the best atmospheres in the league. George, let's move on. Tottenham 0, Newcastle 3. Or sorry, Nottingham Forest 3.
Nottingham Forest.
I know, George. This game, I think 3-0 was well deserved. This was not Tottenham getting unlucky. They got completely outplayed by a team they had played 2-3 days ago in Europe. Does this change your opinion on who goes down? Aston Villa, I did not watch because I was watching Newcastle Sunderland, West Ham apparently was not very good today either. From what I had seen, does either of these results change how you think about it? And didn't you see Tottenham? Did you see any pep from last week's performance against Liverpool?
I told you that if the coach wants to help his defense, he would have maintained that same defense that played against Liverpool. Today we saw Danso, we saw Christian Romero, we saw Mickey van der Ven playing the defense of Tottenham today. And you will notice that most of the goals they conceded was due to lack of awareness of the defender, not closing down on the opponents. Those goals are goals that would have been avoided if they were able to close down, they were able to do their marking properly. But they look so lost when it comes to defending. That's one problem Tottenham has been struggling with this season. Even under Thomas Frank, we saw that.
I thought the Morgan Gibbs White goal was also on Vicario. It went right through him. I think it was the Morgan Gibbs White goal that it went right through him. Like, he was completely behind the ball. And Vicario's been poor all season too. That doesn't help. He's not confident coming off his line, organizing his defense. I'm just adding more blame around here. But I agree with you. Their defense, George.
But where was Romero when the cross? Look at how Romero positioned himself before the ball got to Taiwo Awoniyi, who converted the goal. He wasn't. He was lost. Danso was trying to stop Awoniyi from scoring, but where was the man who is the captain of the team, Christian Romero? I didn't see much of him when it comes to leadership, when it comes to defending properly. He wasn't doing that today. And that's very, very sad, that because if you look at when the game started, the fans were having very high expectation based on the win they had against Atletico Madrid, based on the draw they had against Liverpool in their last Premier League games before that match. So the fans were they were having high expectation. First half, they were let me say they were in control of the game, especially in the first 40 minutes of the game. Not until they conceded that goal from the guy called I think I can't remember his name now. It's a Brazilian player.
Was it Murillo?
No, it's a Brazil. It's not Murillo. I think is it Igor Jesus was the one who scored. Igor Jesus, yeah. Igor Jesus was the one who scored that header.
Right.
Now look at when you look at the way if you look at the way they were marking, they left that guy. That guy was just free. And when it comes to height, you won't tell me that guy is as tall as defenders like Van der Veer, Mickey Van der Veer. He's not as tall as Christian Romero, but that guy was free and he had a free header. So what tells you that defending with Tottenham is very porous and very terrible? And that's why they are paying dearly for it.
They don't have somebody organized in the defense. The goalie is not confident. Mickey Van de Ven was playing at right back, so he looked like less of a liability today at right back position. So he does not. I think he plays right back for the national team, and I think this is one of the first times I've seen him. I don't remember him ever playing at right back for Tottenham. I do feel like his pace is better utilized there and is able to get back up with bringing a lot less liability on the defense. He didn't get up very much today. George, I think that the first goal was only slightly against the run of play. Tottenham had more of the ball, but I don't think they had any crazy chances in the first half. And of course, I think the second half they had just given up. I think that I'm back to thinking that there might be a relegation.
Richarlison had a chance of nodding in a ball into the net in the first half, and he nodded it wide. Then I know there was an effort by Matitel where he was able to, I think he was able to dribble Olaino, and then he tried to shoot, but it was blocked. They made
Yeah,
some good moves in the first half. Their first half was far better than the second half. Second half,
yeah.
they were
They look
they totally collapsed.
they look like a team who hadn't won since 2025 in the second half. And I agree, they look like a competent team in the first half. But to say that they were dominating, I feel like is a bit
No, no, it's
much.
just in the early part of the first half. And now
All
they've
right.
given the man called Victor Pereira his first win in the Premier League since he became the coach of Nottingham Forest. And now Nottingham Forest is ahead of them in the table, which means Tottenham, I don't know if I still have that trust in them of
Yeah,
escaping relegation. I'm
yeah.
very skeptical about them currently, what I
So
saw
George,
today.
let's move on. I think we need to talk the most about Arsenal versus Man City. This game, Man City won 2-0. I feel like it could have been a lot worse. Arsenal did not look dangerous at all. Kepa, I felt, was clear downgrade from Raya. Again, we've talked about this in terms of shot stopping. Raya would not have saved those 2 goals, but in terms of play style offensively, there's a lot of times where Man City would sit 4 attackers well back, let Arsenal pass it around the back, knowing that full well that Kepa was not going to pass a ball over that line. I felt like Arsenal was just incapable of playing out of the back with Kepa, and it I don't want to say it cost them the game, but it impacted their entire offense, and they didn't have any real good
But,
offense today.
but Joe, when you look at the first goal, Kepa cost it because he was supposed to push that ball. He was trying to catch the ball, but it seems the ball was much higher than his hands to have a strong grip on it. So
Yes,
what he
that's
would
right.
have done was to punch the ball away, but he was trying to catch it, and then the ball, he couldn't hold on to it, and then that was how Nico Riley was able to knock the ball in. So that first goal is on him, but I won't blame him only. I will also blame the Arsenal system of
But
play because
the
they were
goal was
playing too
coming.
defensive. They
The
were
goal
playing
was
too defensive.
coming. City
Yeah,
was all over them. Like Kepa had some great saves too in that little spell, and he happened to make a mistake on that because I think it was a
yeah.
part of a giant scramble. And you're right. In a vacuum, he catches that more often than not. And I don't. I think it's more just Arsenal just soaking up pressure a lot and playing to soak up pressure, and it would backfire on them today.
Honestly, I was very disappointed in Arsenal. The only time they played was, let me say, in the first 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
And after that, I didn't see that they allowed City to grow into the game. And before he knew it, City took full control of the game. Second half, I think it was a total dominance from Manchester City. Manchester City had full possession. They were creating a lot of. I can't remember how many chances Arsenal created in the second half. It was
No.
really very disappointing, and I think the blame has to go to Ateta because I still believe Arsenal has the quality players that can play at pure attacking football. But he decided to be very conservative today. I think he was trying to play counter attacking type of play. Unfortunately for him, City didn't give him that room, and
I
you
also
saw the
think,
way Arsenal lost.
like I said, I think Arsenal Pep completely outcoached Arteta today. I feel like Arsenal was very clearly prepared to pass it out or trying to soak up. When the Arsenal had possession, they were trying to lure Man City into their final third, and Man City's forwards were being. Holland was very disciplined when Arsenal had the ball of staying in the middle third, and so it scrunched up the field a little bit. It didn't allow forced Arsenal to pass it over the top, where Havertz and was not able to win consistently balls from the Arsenal backline and goalkeeper. and it just allowed Man City to control that game in that way. And Arteta is a really smart coach, and I agree with you. Arsenal has a lot of smart players, and that they are not going to get beat the same way over and over again. People always ask, is this a blueprint? Well, no, Arteta is going to see and say, this is where Man City beat us, and figure it out. And the rest of the season, if other teams try this against Arsenal, they will have a game plan. But it's a bit hard to come up with a game plan when your team is on the field. And just communicate that to them. But it was really an interesting game for me tactically, because Pep and Arteta obviously are huge on preparation and know everything. I just thought that Pep had the upper hand today.
So that has given Pep his fifth League Cup title, which is quite remarkable for him and a good achievement, because you see how excited he was at the end of the game. Because imagine a Pep Guardiola ending the season without a trophy. Now he has something to be proud of, something to celebrate, even if they don't win any other trophy till the end of the season. At least he has something to show for it. So
Yeah,
it's a
they're still
good
in
one for.
They're still in the FA
Said what?
Cup, right? And they're still in the FA Cup, I believe,
Yeah,
and
they are
they could
still.
still very
Yes,
much win the
yeah.
Premier League. I mean, I don't think they will, but Arsenal they're in a better position against Arsenal than they were 3 years ago, when Arsenal, I think, dropped like 8 points in April. So a lot of soccer left to be played, including Arsenal Man City game at the Etihad Stadium. So we'll see. George, do you think this game is going to impact that run-in terms of Arsenal's mentality?
No, definitely. If City has been able to get victory today, remember we said this game was so important for the game between Arsenal and Manchester City at the Etihad, because now City will have more confidence, and then that will give them some kind of edge. The good thing for Arsenal is that they are leading by, I think, 7 points now, if I'm not wrong. Currently on the table,
I think it's 9 points with City have a game
is
in
it?
hand. But
Okay,
City have a
okay.
game in hand, so it's 6. It could be 6, yeah.
So I think this is going to give them some level of confidence as they play match. I mean, as Manchester City will be playing Arsenal, I think that will be in April or so. That's when both teams will be playing. But the good thing is that Arsenal, at least, they have some kind of gap. Even if they lose to Manchester City at Etihad and they are able to win the rest of their game, they will still be able to win the league. So that's the good thing about it. So the pressure will not be too much on Arsenal. That could also help them when they go to Etihad to play against Manchester City, because the pressure will be less.
George, people were saying this in this time of year 2 years ago and 3 years ago. Arsenal has a big gap. The Arsenal has a big gap that they don't have to win at the Etihad, and then of course Arsenal bottles it. I think this Arsenal team is different. This Man City team is different. But people definitely said that 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I forget the exact gap the Arsenal had 2 years ago and 3 years ago, but I think this year's a little bigger, and Man City is a lot worse than they were.
But Joe, with 9 points gap, Arsenal is 9 points ahead of Manchester City. Arsenal has played 31 games. City has played 30 games. So that means City still has 8 games to go. Manchester City still has, Arsenal still has 7 goals to go. City has 8 games to go. So I don't see how Arsenal will allow City to to surpass them with 9 point gap at this stage.
George,
That would be very difficult.
On March 31st, 2023, Arsenal had an 8-point gap with Man City. Man City had 1 game in hand, so it was a 1-point difference, and Man City ended up winning that league by like 5 points. So I'm just saying that 3 years ago, people just like us were talking and saying Man City has a 8-point, or Arsenal has an 8-point gap, and then Man City. And again, this Man City team is not as good as that team. This Arsenal team probably isn't as good as that Arsenal team from 3 years ago. But they are more experienced. It is a very different title race, and it's just interesting to talk about. George, let me close out by our standard questions. Number one, what was one takeaway you had from the League Cup game with Arsenal and Man City? I had the tactical takeaway. George had the impact on how confidence might affect their league standings. It's very interesting. Does the Nottingham Forest versus Tottenham result, or the West Ham versus Aston Villa, impact how you think the relegation race is going to go? It's a big weekend for the relegation race. And then finally, with the Freddie Valverde red card, how can we hold referees accountable. Of course, in the moment, any referee can make a mistake, but things like VAR, things like after game appeals, do you think that process is suiting the game correctly? Let us know your thoughts. Thanks for listening.